Every time I put this build on, I am quickly reminded on how good it truly is, and I still feel like it is one of the most slept on exotics a hunter can use. This build will rapidly grant you Radiant, Amplified, Invisibility, Overshield, Frost Armor, and Devour, all while blinding everything in your path. Mako's Buck here, and today let's go over Mothkeeper's wraps again. Kicking it off with our exotic Mothkeeper's wraps come with the exotic perk Winged Eclipse. Your grenade becomes a cage of loyal moths that release on impact and fly towards the nearest target or ally. If they reach a target, they detonate in a blinding explosion. If they reach an ally, the moths grant an overshield. We will be pairing our exotic with the Prismatic Hunter Subclass as the synergy just goes crazy. Our super is going to be Silence and Squall for Facet of Purpose Frost Armor things. If you did not know, Frost Armor is currently the best damage resistance in the game. Each stack of Frost Armor grants 6.7% damage resistance and stacks up to 5 times. This will also stack on top of other damage resistances we will get with this build from our Void Overshield and Amplified. This build is not a strictly GM build. Actually, most would probably question anyone running this in a Grandmaster Nightfall, but most of the footage in this video is from the current GM, and as you can see, we are just tanking. Moving on to our abilities, and we will be using Gambler's Dodge. Dodging near an enemy fully refunds your melee energy, and yes, this now works with Ascension, which we will be using. Jump will be Triple Jump, Threaded Spike Strand Melee, and your grenade does not matter as moths have their own base cooldown timer regardless of the nade you select. Our aspects will be Stylish Executioner. Defeating a target affected by any elemental debuff grants invisibility and true sight, and yes, your moth final blows will grant you invis. Our other aspect we mentioned, and that is going to be Ascension. While airborne, consume your class ability energy to summon your arc staff, propelling yourself upward and creating a burst of energy around you that jolts targets and grants you and nearby allies amplified. Moving on to our fragments, and we are going with Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits make you radiant. Powered melee final blows make you and nearby allies radiant. Facet of Balance, rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy, and rapidly defeating targets with darkness energy grants you grenade energy. Weapon final blows do count towards this. Facet of Hope, while you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. Ascension will self-proc this fragment as it will make you amplified. Facet of Courage, your Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. And lastly, Facet of Purpose, picking up an Orb of Power will grant you a stack of Frost Armor as we have a Stasis Super equipped. Now that our subclass is set up, let's get into our weapons loadout, starting with our exotic weapon, and that is going to be Buried Bloodline, as this will grant us Devour, which regens grenade energy and heals us. If you do not have Buried Bloodline, you can use the VS Velocity Baton with Demolitionist on it. If you have neither of those, well, get to farming one of them. Since I know people are going to come in here and be like, oh, how can you be on Moth Arms and not use Exdirus? Look, your exotic arms already give you Moss. You do not need your weapon to do it as well. In the kinetic slot, I am going with a Strand weapon to proc Facet of Balance and grants us grenade energy, and that weapon is Mikhail's Reverence with Rewind Rounds and Frenzy. Your kinetic weapon slot is truly preference. I would at least stick to a weapon that deals darkness damage so you can get grenade energy quick from Facet of Balance. A Demolitionist Paracausal Rufus's Fury also slots very nicely here. As for your heavy, it is truly situational to the activity you are doing. In all of the clips for this video, I am using an Envious Arsenal Elemental Honing Cynosure. With our weapons laid out, let's get into our armor mods, kicking it off with our helmet, and that is going to be Ashes to Assets. Grenade final blows grant super energy. Void Siphon, Void Weapon final blows have a chance to generate an Orb of Power, and Special Ammo Finder. Arms will be Firepower. Grenade final blows generates an Orb of Power, Fastball, so you can chuck those moths further, and Bolstering Detonation, dealing damage with a grenade, will grant you class ability energy. Chest will be damage resistance, matching the outgoing damage of the enemy you are fighting. Legs will be Recuperation, replenishes health each time you pick up an Orb of Power. Innervation reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power, and Stacks on Stacks, picking up an Orb of Power grants you 1 additional armor charge. And lastly, our cloak is going to be double utility kickstart. When your class ability energy is fully expended, your armor charge is consumed and you gain class ability energy for each armor charge used. The stat goals for this build will be 100 resilience for damage resistance, 100 discipline for grenade cooldown, and high mobility. And as always, I will place the artifact setup in the description of the video below. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and turn those notifications on. See you next time.